Welcome to English Central, EduGeek webinar series, Knowing Me, Knowing You.
I'm glad to see everyone here tonight to get a look inside one of my new favorite titles, Knowing Me, Knowing You. Unfortunately for me, I noticed this book a little bit late and after I'd started working for English Central, but I wish I had noticed it earlier when I was teaching. There are a ton of activities in it that aren't the norm, things that you'd not find in a typical course book. So let me tell you a bit how it's great for students and for teachers. First, for students. So like this colorful photo suggests, it really gets them to think about themselves, and more importantly, talk about themselves. Who doesn't love doing that? I love talking about myself.
I know you do, Tyson.
Everything's about me, really, you know? So if I'm not in control, it's just not worth doing. But it opens students' minds into discovering their individual thinking styles and their preferred methods of learning. As a result, students take more responsibility for their own learning rather than blaming their books or you, the teachers. The activities permit a great deal of interaction between each other in stimulating conversation away from the normal topics like movies.
Walking your dog. Well, no, maybe that's not a normal one, but pets.
Yeah, pets, public transportation, all that kind of jazz. So it gets new things into the classroom, which I think is something that as teachers we want to give to our students, something challenging, something more interesting. The students will be challenged to expand their vocabulary to discuss how they've responded to the quizzes and the imaginative activities that are in this title, as well as having practice reading and listening to others. So, it's also a great resource for you, teachers, in that it helps you discover more about your individual thinking style and those of your students. You'll probably want to do the activities first yourself because they are very, very interesting, and they give a revealing look into your attitudes, too. So you won't just be drudging through the exercises because you have to and you need to get the answers. What you find happens through this book is that you will be able to take what you've learned about your students and be able to plan more effective lessons geared towards their individual needs. So there's a picture of your brain.
Mine?
Well, not yours specifically, because there's just squishy stuff inside your brain.
Yeah. Well, squishy is better than pointy, in my opinion. That stuff looks like it would hurt.
Well, these are all the mechanisms that go on in teachers' brains, you know, things that turn and revolt around each other. Revolt? Revolve and so on.
Are you suggesting that teachers are revolting?
No. Not in a disgusting sense.
Okay.
No. Okay, so let's take a look inside the components of the book first. So what you can see on the left is the table of contents, and I've put that there not only because it's interesting to see what's inside the book before you buy it, but also because a couple of people in previous webinars have mentioned that they would like to see the table of contents, and I think that's valuable. So you can take a look at that as I'm talking. Activities are divided into different focuses like self-discovery, neuro-linguistic programming, and multiple intelligences. So it's not your typical stuff. Each lesson has listed the aims, notes to the teacher, and methods on administering the lesson. So as we can see here, this one says that this activity helps students understand that they're in a possession of a range of skills and capabilities. Here's a little a bit about what you need to do to prepare, and here's the method on how you can administer the lesson. So it's pretty easy to follow. Also, on many of the activities, it gives suggested language that students can use in order to first discuss their opinions. But this, of course, can be used or ignored depending on your lesson aims. Another cool feature that I really liked was the notes part. This often gives you some extra information about the results of the surveys or the quizzes involved that might be useful to help summarize a lesson. All of the notes have some valuable stuff in them. Some of them have answers, some of them have facts and figures, and we'll take a look at some of the notes in the activities that I'm going to try out for you. So, on that note, let's try out a few of the activities. So corny. The first one that we're going to try out is something called Good Teacher, Bad Teacher, and it's Activity 4 for those of you who already have the book on page 12 and 13. The aim of this activity is to make explicit students' understanding of what makes a teacher more or less effective. So what I would like you to do is I want you to either on a piece of paper at home or in your brain, maybe if you don't have something to write with, think of 3 things that make teachers good, right? 3 qualities that you think make teachers good. Maybe think of some good teachers you know. So I'll give you a couple seconds to think about that, and maybe you can put some of your ideas into the question box, and I'll read them out.
Do, 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 do.
So what makes a good teacher? In the question box, what do you think? I don't think anybody has any idea what makes a good teacher. Hello? Oh, there we go. Natalia said creativity. Wendy says me.
Wendy.
Oh, question box was hard to find. Sorry, Margaret. At the very beginning, we showed you where the question box was.
Well, that's when we didn't have audio, maybe.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Okay, so now that you found it, some ideas on good teacher qualities. We already have creativity. Wendy says me.
Preparedness, perhaps?
Yes, we see passion, preparation, and caring about your students' interests and needs, definitely. Motivation, genuine interest, friendliness, helps them discover and learn things, not to tell them. Resourcefulness from Maria.
Yeah.
Yep, all good things. People person, able to relate to students. Ah, yeah, that sounds good too. I think if you're not a very social person, you're not going to make that good of a teacher, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So that's some qualities that you think are about the #1 teacher. And now I would like you to think of the number 379 teacher on your list of great teachers. And obviously this would be the characteristics of a bad teacher. Maybe that's just the opposite of what you've said, but also if you can think of some other bad teachers you've had, what other characteristics do you think make a bad teacher? And you can put them in the question box too. Personally, I think someone who smells bad, doesn't take showers.
You know, some smelly people make very good teachers.
They sleep in class, like Wendy's supply teacher did once.
Yeah.
No preparation, they ignore the students, right? Natalia says being boring. Definitely. What about being super old? Just kidding.
You're such an ageist.
Well, that's true. Anybody else have some ideas about bad teachers? Okay. Well, it might be interesting to know that in the notes part of this section, which you can relay to your students at one point or other, is that after 3,700 hours of research and in 550 different schools, a couple of researchers named Aspie and Roebuck, you can research them on your own, came up with 3 qualities that they think are excellent for teachers, and they're not what you sort of typically think. One of them is transparency. So, Nicole, what do you think about transparency? What do you think that means?